Hey, we've been told not to ask you any Rage Against the Machine questions, and if you don't want to answer this, that's fine. But it is just intriguing to know, after such a long hiatus, what the actual phone call was like between, I guess, you and Zach or whoever it was, where you went, you know what, we're going to do it. We're going to put Rage Against the Machine back together.
Well, probably the more important phone call was the one that we did not receive from Chris Cornell when he quit the band. I mean, that was the thing that opened the door, really, to any of this happening.
You just say, just see you later.
A friend of mine read it on the internet. Yeah. But I mean, it's all good. We actually had a wonderful time in Audioslave, both musically and personally. It was so much fun. But the reason why I made the Night Watchman One Man Revolution record, and what opened the door for Rage Against the Machine to play shows was that Audioslave went away, and we had a great run with that. But when Audioslave did go away, it made me really reassess my musical priorities and what music I want to be involved in, what kind of music I want to be involved in, and I just wanted to only be involved in music that reflected my worldview, and the Night Watchman music certainly does that, and Rage Against the Machine certainly does that. So that was a pretty key phone call. I didn't receive.
But what was the first rehearsal like? I can just picture. It's been a long time since Zach and you three were in the studio. So was it?
Yeah.
Did you
it sort of got to like it's kind of like migratory animals. It's sort of like it's not like all at once a thing occurs. As Timmy and Brad rehearsed for maybe a couple of months, and then I came and played for a couple of days, and it sounded pretty great, And then
so you're better than the other two. Is that what you're saying?
No. I mean, it's just sort of the more I rehearse, the worse I get.
Right.
So that's I've got a sort of a shelf life of a certain amount.
Do you think you pick up new fans with Night Watchman? You think you've got people who actually don't listen to Rage and are more specifically engaged?
Well, I mean, that's one of the things that I didn't know. Like, what would the audience be for this? Because would it be all folkies from the 60s, but it tends to be. I mean, the audience for both shows tends to be really young, and which is very encouraging. Because I think a lot of times, people may be curious to hear, they like Rage and Audioslave, so like, oh, what is Tom Morello going to be shredding on the acoustic guitar?
Yes.
And then it introduces them to a kind of music which I think is absolutely as heavy and absolutely as rebellious as anything that System of a Down or Rage or Public Enemy plays, and there's such a rich history of like protest music that's played with just 3 chords on the truth.
I've actually seen some of the of your shows in the US on the internet, and some of your audience members include people such as Slash and Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains and Perry Farrell. Except they get up on stage with you, but then you're kind of pushed to the back, and they're all in front with their electric instruments, and you're sort of bobbing your head.
That's fine. I'm happy to be just a member of the audience of those shows, and the secret behind the scenes mastermind,
the evil genius. Hey Tom, I noticed on your guitar, "Whatever It Takes" is what you've got written on your guitar. It does sound vaguely familiar. What's that from?
This is. I'm not sure where it sounds familiar to you, but there's a long tradition, from Woody Guthrie's guitar that said, "This machine kills fascists," to my own "Arm the Homeless" guitar, and they sort of finding some meaningful message to scrawl on a guitar is a proud part of rock protest history, so I'm continuing that on. And it's actually one of the songs. I just finished the next Night Watchman record, which will be coming out in the spring, and one of the songs on that is called "Whatever It Takes," named after my guitar.
There are so many causes to champion, and I guess a lot of people would come to you because you do have such a voice. Do you find it hard to choose? I mean, there are so many things to get angry about, I suppose.
Well, I mean, I think that if someone comes for advice, I think that advice is very simple. It's just to have the courage of your own convictions. I don't think that people need much... you don't need to tell people what's right or wrong. They often know that very much in their head and in their heart. But sometimes getting out from in front of the computer screen or the video game screen or the television to do something about it is the key thing. And so I think that's the more important lesson, is to have the courage of your convictions.
Especially when they can just play the Tom Morello Guitar Hero game.
Yes.
Actually, is there going to be a Night Watchman Guitar Hero?
It is an opiate of the masses. It certainly is. There's no doubt about that. I'm a very poor player at that game. People. I was at a friend's, actually, Brendan O'Brien, who produced the latest both Night Watchman records, the one that's out and the new one, and his 16-year-old daughter comes in, sort of sheepishly asks Dad if she can ask a favor of him, and he sheepishly asked me. It's like Saturday night, and she's invited all her friends over to watch me play Guitar Hero. And not realizing that there's that's a video game. That's not a guitar. And so, I acquiesce, and I go, and there's this room filled, 20, high school kids all ready to see me shred on that yellow button and that blue button. And very disappointingly, Brendan and I try to play each other. We can barely turn the machine on. So the digital me is much more skilled at video games than them.
Tom Morello, who can make his guitar sound like a video game, but apparently can't make a video game sound like a guitar.
Well put.
Yeah. Listen, we're very chuffed to have you in this morning, Tom. Thank you so much for dropping by Triple J. It's been great having a chat to you. Let's get into the version part of Like a Version.
Sure.
You're going to play us...
Sure. Well, and in preparation for coming down here to play some shows, I thought I would draw on the catalog of one of my favorite Australian bands, a band called AC/DC. But I thought I'd rewrite the words to be a little bit more contemporary and to concern my own Commander-in-Chief, George W. Bush. So this is a song, an updated version of Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. You got a country that is rich in oil, buried neath the sand, or if your population's black or brown or of strategic importance, man, pick up the phone, now I'm always home, or call the White House anytime. I'll send the bombers in with a stupid grin, I'll lead a life of crime. Dirty deeds done dirt cheap, dirty deeds done dirt cheap, dirty deeds done dirt cheap, dirty deeds and they're done dirt cheap, dirty deeds and they're done dirt cheap. You got problems with the local folks, the ones you haven't shot. If you find the prisoner just won't talk, innocent or not, pick up the phone, now I'm here alone, I say torture them all. Let God sort that shit, the electrodes fit, we'll have ourselves a ball. Dirty deeds done dirt cheap, dirty deeds done dirt cheap, dirty deeds done dirt cheap, dirty deeds and they're 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 done dirt cheap. Hey! 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 You got a head of state, you want them gone, but you ain't got the guts. They won't do what Uncle Sam says and drives the World Bank nuts. Pick up the phone, the press I own, Iraq, Venezuela, Iran. I'm willing to lie, send young men to die to make a little money for my friends. Hey! Dirty deeds done dirt cheap, dirty deeds done dirt cheap, dirty deeds done dirt cheap, dirty deeds and they're 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 done dirt cheap. Rendition, secret prisons, fact or fiction, done dirt cheap. Stolen elections, false confessions, mass deception, done dirt cheap. Oh, dirty deeds are done dirt cheap, dirty deeds are done dirt cheap.
On Triple J, the Night Watchman, Tom Morello. You may also know him from Rage Against the Machine, doing Dirty Deeds done dirt cheap, of course. AC/DC.
Thank you so much, Tom. If you are heading to the Sydney Big Day Out today, 5 p.m, Tom is on stage as the Night Watchman, and then some other little band he plays in a little bit later after that. But also tomorrow night after the Hottest 100, if you're going to see him, you'd also see him with Billy Bragg.
That's correct.
Have you hung out with him much before?
Billy Bragg was, one of my favorite artists as a singer-songwriter, growing up, and we've toured together before, so that should be a nice time.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's at the Metro in Sydney. You're playing a raid show at the Festival Hall, which we have a double pass for, by the way. Then big day out in Melbourne, and you can also catch the final night Watchman show in Melbourne if you're going to be there on Tuesday night at the Tote, if you want to do it. And then, of course, he's playing for the other big day out gigs for the rest of the nation.
And the shows with Anti-Flag.
The raid shows with Anti-Flag.
They'll be coming in this time next week.
Absolutely.
I believe, for Like a Version.
Nice lads.
Thank you so much, Tom.
Thanks very much for having me.
Cheers,
appreciate
mate.
it.
Robbie,
Marieke and the Doctor.
Mañana, Triple J.